folks, and welcome to Pulaski Academy. I'm Joshua Carroll. I'm joined by Athletic Director and Head Football Coach Kevin Kelley. How you doing, Coach?
Doing great.
I know that this past season was pretty rough. We had a lot of, no, let me not say it that way.
Well, people say it's rough, and for PA, it is kind of rough. We didn't win the state championship.
Right. Well, and that's kind of what you expect at PA,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that is.
So I know you're already looking toward next year, already practicing, got a lot of guys out here on the field today even.
Yeah.
So are there any shining stars we can already look for?
Man, you know, it's funny. It depends on what you look. Some people we have super high expectations for because they were starters and on the field last year, like a Jaden Kelley. 2,000 yards, basically total offense last year. So he hasn't really shined because that's what we expected of him. But we've got a lot of younger guys that are really shining. Joe Hyman moved up from 9th grade to 10th grade. I think he's going to be a really good running back. And then, Braden Bratcher's kind of picking up where he took off last year. So, again, he's not a shiner, so to speak. But then you look around. Braden Cash has been a little bit of a flash. Del Pino, up-and-coming 9th to 10th grader, has been something. Trent Sawyer has been a great look on defense. We moved him from corner to safety, and man, he's just jumped on with that, and he looks really, really good to me too. So, and then tomorrow we'll do our first bout in the kicking game. So I'm gonna see what Clay James and Savannah Goodwin have done this season in the offseason regarding onside kicks, and we'll kick some field goals too.
Outstanding. You mentioned Joe Hyman. Of course, last year, somewhere in the middle of the season, he took a rough injury at the Little Rock Christian game.
Yeah.
Took him out for the rest of the season. Is he bouncing back from that injury pretty well?
Yeah, he came all the way back to 100% healed, and then you always wonder, a 9th grader moving up to 10th grade, if they're going to be hesitant, maybe a little reluctant to get in on the action, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I was. With the injury and that, I was really worried. He came back in, and he's looked really, really good, and he's going to really add to our running game this fall.
Last year, one of the defensive stars on the team, you have to mention Ishikawa. How's he looking this year?
I would have said Fuda was the star last year that jumped out, the shining star, as you said, and he looks great. He's really, super quick, as everybody got to see last year, and it's funny, he plays linebacker for us, but we've made a living playing people at positions that you wouldn't normally think they would play on a regular football team. And so you're looking at a 145-pound linebacker, but he's so quick and so smart and understands, and we make him do a million different things. He's looked really good. It's been great to have him out here. Getting Mason Cobb back for baseball, he is so sure-handed and a run-after-the-catch guy that, he's a kid that I think is going to have a really brilliant year. But we go across the board. Jalen Witcher didn't get to play much last year. Really, really going to be a good receiver for us. Andrew Cobb, our tallest kid, probably on our team, he and Richard Griffith. Both of those guys, played some last year, but this year we're going to count on both of them at their respective spots. And we're still looking for that get-off-the-bus guy. You know what the get-off-the-bus guy is?
No, what's that?
That's a guy, when he walks off, that he just looks muscular and like a mean football player that the other team's like, oh, my gosh, hope it's not a team full of him when he gets off the bus.
Right.
I don't know that we have a get-off-the-bus
like
guy.
Like Wesley Coleman.
Yeah, you just there's a big kid.
Right.
I don't know that we have one of those this year. Maybe I would have thought Thomas Vaughn, but Thomas lost like 50 pounds.
Right.
And now he looks like I wish I looked.
Of course, Wesley was on the offensive line this past year. He took the off season to go wrestle.
Yeah.
And actually, I think he placed 3rd in the state.
He did.
In his very first attempt ever at wrestling.
Yeah.
And, of course, this next year he'll be off at Harding University to play football for Harding. So
yeah, the reason Wesley was good, people shouldn't get the misinformation that you can jump into a sport and just be good at it.
Right, of course.
Finished 3rd in the state, but he is such a hard worker.
Right.
Really smart kid. He picked up on things. If he'd been doing it for 2 years, I think he might have finished 1st in the state. I think he might have won, but such a hard-working kid, and we've got so many kids that cross over and wrestled, and I'm so proud to see them win that state championship in wrestling, and you got a son doing it as well. So really, really cool, and I thought Wesley not only picked it up well, he jumped right in, was a really a good leader for that team.
Right. Of course, we mentioned Ishikawa. You've also got Dylan Allison. There's just a number of them that kind of cross over between those two. But anyway.
Which is a great sport. If you talk to college coaches, they look a lot of times, not that we've got a ton of football players that are going to college, but they look for guys that have wrestled. You learn so much about yourself, but it's a mental discipline. People don't understand how hard wrestling is. And then the balance and the leverage, and you get stronger and stuff you don't get in the weight room. Moving guys' arms up this way, and they got you in certain holds and stuff, and people underestimate how important wrestling is to any football program.
Really is. Well, Coach, let's talk about some of the rule changes in football this year. The National Federation of High Schools put out several rule changes, and I think some of them were expected.
Yeah.
We saw that other schools were kind of beta testing those, if you will, and then there are some that kind of surprised me.
Yeah.
There were 7 in all. The very first one is probably the one that's getting the most attraction, and that's the use of a 40-second play clock instead of a 25-second play clock. And I know that one of the things that as you first read into that, you think, oh my gosh. And my first thought was, that's going to really increase the length of the game. But in actuality, when you read into the way that it's supposed to be done, it might actually make the game shorter. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it does shorten up the game. They introduced it in college several years ago in a way, in an effort to shorten up the game a little bit and do a couple other things. But basically what happens is usually, like say we throw a pass, an out route, and a guy runs out of bounds. As soon as the whistle's blown, they'll put 40 seconds on the play clock and start it. So that means from the time the play is over to the time the next play starts is 40 seconds. The way it's currently done, well, up until this coming year, it's out of bounds, and if the ball got thrown out of bounds, and it takes 10 seconds to get it to the official, and it takes him 10 more seconds to get it in the middle of the field and place it, and it takes him 5 more seconds to start the clock. That's 25. Then you had 25 more, there's 50. So in reality, it should shorten the game. Now, the good thing about it for us is different officials over the years have a different pace of play.
Right.
By the time the ball's actually gotten back to the guy that spots it on the ground, he has to blow what's called a ready for play whistle. He waits till he spots it, looks at his guys, and then blows the whistle. Some of those guys, we had a guy a couple of years ago in a pretty tight game that from the time the ball was placed on the ground, which probably took him 20 seconds to get it there, he waited 16 seconds to blow the whistle ready for play. Then there was 25, so you were looking for a minute between plays, a solid 60 seconds.
Wow.
This will cut that down into, 40 seconds instead of 60 possibly. It really helps us because if we like to go fast, they put it down, we get to go. They didn't put it down and we got to wait for them.
Sure.
So to me, it's one of the very few rule changes that I look at and go, I really like for a couple of different reasons.
It really kind of lends to that hurry-up offense.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hurt us any in there. And I think it will shorten the game. And nowadays with people having shorter attention spans with remote controls and phones and iPads, and we can just look at 15 different things at once, I think it helps in that, keep their attention a little bit too.
Now, of course, it's not in all cases. In some cases, you still have that 25-second play clock,
right?
And that's after an official's timeout, after a touchdown, and you have the extra point attempt coming up.
So a penalty.
A penalty.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. There's a few things, and I think that's what's going to take the average fan. I can hear it now. Start the 40-second clock. You put 25 up there,
Right.
But there are some situations that's 25. It's going to take the casual fan a little bit of time to get used to.
Sure. Now, the second one that is on the list here is allowing replay in postseason state adoption.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything from the AAA, the Arkansas Activities Association. Have you heard anything from them about whether or not they're going to adopt this?
I haven't heard anything from the AAA. I've heard the talk about it, and basically what's happened in other states that I've done a little research on is they have adopted it first for the state championship game when everybody's at the same place and everybody has access to review. I think they're a little reluctant to go, well, in 7A, 6A, some 5A like us, we could do it. In some other lower classifications, maybe they can't yet. So they're a little reluctant to do it, but they could do it in the state championship game. I'm willing to bet that they adopt it first there.
Sure.
And then it trickles down from there. And because even in college right now, some colleges, smaller Division I schools, when they first adopted it, they were having a tough time, or they had one angle.
Sure.
And, socialism, not socialism, it's hard to say if we all can't do it at all classes. I get if one classification, if some of them can't. But I'm hoping they let them adopt it on a classification by classification level instead of waiting until everybody has access. That may be another 20 years.
Right. So that one we do have to wait and see whether or not the AAA will adopt that for the state.
Yeah.
The third one, jersey numbers must be a single solid contrasting color by 2024. And I'm going to tell you, as an announcer, I love this one.
Right.
That's my favorite because we've gone up against schools in the past that have a gradient. It goes from like black to purple, and the number is gray. You can't see that from the
Yeah.
press box. And so that one's, for me, I'm a fan. What do you think?
I like it too from a coach's standpoint. We watch a lot of video, and we can't see the number even on the video sometimes. When you like you say, it just kind of goes from a blue to a lighter blue or a darker blue. You're like, I mean, it's tough to tell, and we need to be able to identify different numbers for different strategy reasons and stuff. And so I think from a fans, from announcers, and from a coach's point of view, I think it's a good move. So I'm glad they're doing that one. So now, golly, I'm for these rule changes. I'm usually up against all the rule changes, but so far I've had a couple I like.
Awesome. Well, let's see the very next one. I'm curious to hear your take on this one. No more than 4 in the backfield. That replaces the fact that you must have 7 on the line, and you still have to have 5 numbered 50 through 79 on the line. Now, explain that to me because I don't really get that one.
It is in football. 7 men, at least, out of your 11 on offense have to be on the line of scrimmage. That means they can't be a slot back, can't be a quarterback or running back. They have to be on the line. 7.
And that's to make sure that you don't have an ineligible receiver somewhere?
Well, that defines the eligibility.
Okay.
7 men have to be on the line, and the last man on the outside that are on the line are eligible, and everybody off the line. So that's why linemen most times aren't eligible, because there's a guy outside them on the line. Well, in the pros, you can back that guy off and declare that lineman eligible by number, but you have to announce it to the referee. He announces it to the crowd. Well, they do it so much people forget about him. That's how you see the old tackle eligible. In NFHS, you can't even do that. So anybody that's 50 through 79 is then eligible to catch a pass anyway, number-wise. So, but basically that rule changed to absolute zero. They rewrote the rule. Now, the funny thing is, as much as I like the other 2 rules, the dumbest thing they've done in a long time is rewrite that rule, because everybody in the country, literally across the country, a lot of people know me as the rules guru, and I'm getting calls from all over the country, from California, from Minnesota, and from North Carolina. Hey, what are they talking about? I mean, do we not have to have 7 on the line? Can we do all these crazy formations? No, they just rewrote the way the rule was, because they had it defined as instead of 7 on the line, you can have 4 in the backfield. Well, the backfield, people think of it as by the quarterback, but it just means not on the line. So it could be out there on the numbers,
Sure.
off the line in the slot or whatever. They redid the thing, no rule changes, and everybody freaked out and thought the whole game of football fundamentally was changing, where you could have everybody off the line and do Canadian and run them all. I mean, just crazy. People thought crazy stuff. So that was really not a genius idea on their part.
Sure.
I'm a guy that just calls it like it is. If this coaching show thing keeps up, I'm going to make a lot of enemies too. But
No, that'll work.
I'm just a guy. I'm not trying to say anything bad. That was just a dumb one. I
Sure.
think they know it was too. They won't want to admit it, but they do.
Let's see, the very next one is tripping a runner is now illegal. That seems obvious to me.
Well, right now you can't trip as a blocker. So say you're a DN and I'm a
see.
tackle and you're I can't stick my foot out and trip you.
Right.
You have been legally allowed, if you're a defensive player and you've got the football, a runner, defined as a runner, you've got the ball, you're a runner. If I'm getting held, blocked by somebody, I used to be able to stick my foot out. Nobody teaches that, and in 27 years, I can't remember anybody intentionally tackling a runner that way.
Wow.
But they just made it illegal.
Sure.
Now, no tripping at all. Instead of, it was no tripping except for you trip the guy with the ball. But now you can't trip it. And it's not legal in college and the NFL, so we're just really, really slow to adopt that rule.
Okay.
You won't see a big change because I've never seen it in 27 years.
Okay. The next one, I kind of like this one because we saw a couple of these, I think, in the last year. Horse collar tackle now includes grabbing the nameplate area.
Yeah. People, I mean, it's good and it's bad. I think it's good to have the rule, good safety, because when you do grab from behind, your body reacts in weird. When you grab from behind, you kind of throw your hips forward, puts a strain on your back, and it puts an exterior strain, especially on your patella tendon on your knees. And so you don't want people to be able to do that. Now, you grab from lower jersey, it doesn't seem to do that. But the nameplate lowers, extends it past just the up inside the pads. That's a good thing. The bad thing is I'm against anything that becomes more subjective for the officials.
Right.
And now, in the blink of an eye, they've got to be able to tell where he's grabbing. Is he below the nameplate? Is he on the nameplate? And literally what defines that is that borderline of the sewing, that does that. So it's going to be tough. Overall, good deal, bad deal in that it's real subjective for the officials and harder for them to call.
Sure. Let's see, the seventh one Illegal kicking or batting a ball is now a 10-yard penalty instead of 15. So what are they talking about with illegal kicking?
Again, it's really an obscure rule. I've actually seen it 3 times against a team I've actually coached. When the ball's laying on the ground, let's say you and I were both, I'm going to give you a couple of for instances. Ball's laying on the ground, it's a fumble. You and I are both going for the ball. I'm on offense and my guy fumbled, and you're on defense if you get it, defensive recovery. Let's say you can't get it or I can't get it, and we got a guy over there, and we're both diving at the same time. Instead of trying to recover it, I just bat it away so you can't get it. That's now a 10-yard penalty instead of 15. It used to be a 15-yard penalty. Also, the times I've seen it used against us are when we onside kick, it's harder to recover the ball in the air on the ground. Some teams try to just bat it out of bounds, and you just jump up and bat it instead of jump up and try to catch it.
Right.
And that's illegal. People don't even realize that's illegal.
Right.
But now it's illegal. It's a 10-yard kick. The good thing for us is, since it's happened before a change of possession, they would get a 10-yard penalty. We'd get to move it up to the 50 and kick it, and we get to re-kick it since it hadn't been post-change. Nice. That actually helps us,
right?
But people will think it hurts us.
Sure.
But I haven't seen that very much, and again, it was mainly for when the ball's on the ground. People might have been swatting them away when they couldn't get to it, and now it's a 10-yard penalty instead of 15.
So that's all 7 of them for this year, and you didn't complain much about any of them.
I just don't like, I don't like, it's hard for the officials already.
Right.
And people complain about them, this and that and the other. And I will say this, I officiated for a couple of years in college. It's hard, really difficult. The game's going fast. You got a million things going on. And people not only don't appreciate it, they tend to think officials are calling against them. In all the games I've coached and played, and I've been playing since like 4th grade, I only thought 1 or 2 times maybe an official was out and had something against us where he would let that interfere with his talking. Most of the time I think you miss calls, you make calls, I think they're trying. I don't like rules that are subjective, that really give them an opinion sometimes, which there's a lot that are like that. Was he holding? Was he not? Was this, that? So, and they didn't do a ton there. To do that. They changed the rule, the yardage on some, and the 40-second rule. Like I said, I like that. So when they don't change the difficulty for an official already, I'm really usually not against it. When they make it harder, it gets tough.
And you say subjective. Anytime somebody says subjective officials and sports, I immediately think baseball.
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's one of the things that's being tested out is having a computer actually watch.
Did you see the HBO thing on? They put their, they've got those machines set up to do the strike zone.
Right.
They had in California, they did a AA or AAA game where they had it projected.
I heard about this.
They had the
one.
guy in the box looking at the computer screen,
and he
called it down to the
right.
earpiece. Didn't tell anybody, the players, the fans, anybody. They were radioing him, so he called a perfect game.
Wow.
And he would wait, and nobody knew, and he would wait, and he would look at the strike zone, and the guy would say, strike. He didn't have any idea. He acted like he's watching. He'd turn, strike. I'd go, ball. Oh. Nobody had any idea, and he called the perfect game, probably the first one ever.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In a double, it was either double or triple. It was minor league ball. It was on HBO Real Sports.
Wow.
So then they go to the major leagues who complain about, and they did a study on the biggest swings in baseball come from either a 1-1 pitch. Is it going to be 1-2 or 2-1? They looked at batting averages when the strike ball count switched that much, 1-2 or 2-1, and it was It was crazy how much of a difference in the batting average and on base percentage.
Wow.
If it's a 1-1 count and a ball in the baseball's thrown, the difference between calling a strike and calling a ball and making it 2-1 or 1-2 is crazy different in the chances that guy has, because now the pitcher has to pitch different.
Right.
Of him getting on base or getting a hit. And so they're trying to take that away. And you go look, and Major League Baseball players and managers are always constantly griping about that. But then when you told them, they went and interviewed some and said, we've got the perfect game call. You couldn't tell. Nobody knew it. Didn't slow the game down. Do you want this? And nobody said yes. They're all like, no, we got to keep human error in the game. I'm like, I would have played that one next time you're up there face-to-face with the umpire complaining. I would have played that on there and go, no, we want to keep human error in the game, keep humans involved.
Right.
It's crazy. People just want to resist change, right?
Well, and you have it in every sport nearly. There's, like we were talking about wrestling earlier, you have, how long do the shoulders have to be on the mat? Is it a full count? Is it one Mississippi? What is it? And so, I've watched many a wrestling match, at least now anyway, and it's quite different between each official. Basketball, one of them is going to call something as a foul. One of them is going to call something else, and you inevitably have that fan yelling from the stands, over the back, over the back.
Oh, yeah, every play. And some of them let you get really physical just guarding somebody on the perimeter, and some of them are going to call all kinds of fouls. The biggest one's block charge in basketball, right? I mean, come as subjective as it possibly gets.
Yes.
So I always tell our basketball coaches, because it's probably a 50-50, if I think we're the worst team, I try to take charges. Because the 50-50 helps us, we're worse.
Right.
If we know we're better, don't take charges, because we don't want to make it even. We're better than they are talent-wise. So I just think there's little things like that that can help you or hurt you. But, man, it's like everybody in the gym saw one thing and that guy saw another. But that's where we are in the world of officiating. And some of it we can't fix. But if we can add replay in big games and take the human error out of, I bring back the Warren game a couple years ago.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
But if they could have gone back and watched that whole thing on review with how much time was left when X and YZ happened and how they should have set that. And I thought they did a pretty good job considering the circumstance anyway. But they could have got that exactly right time-wise, and I think that might make a difference in the game.
There was a game last year that it was played right here at Joe Hatcher Stadium. And I remember the visiting team caught the ball, but fell on the ground, and the ball dribbled outside the back of the end zone. You remember that play?
Yeah.
And of course, I remember what happened next. It was the best thing I've ever seen was you talking to the official, and you had the football and flopped on the ground
to show him. Yeah,
I loved that. I wish we got it on camera, but we didn't.
We didn't have replay, so I was making my own replay
for
the guy.
That's it.
That was, talk about missed calls.
Right.
And I don't think the guy did it on purpose, but I'm like,
no,
so
it
you
was
just want to illustrate the point.
Right.
I try to pick, it's funny, Josh, I try to pick and choose the times to argue with them. Because I'm a guy, some people argue every call.
Sure.
Basketball, football, whatever. I try to pick and choose my times when I really think I'm right. And then at the very end, I know he's not going to change the call. They rarely change the call. But I only do that right there because as soon as I got up, I looked at him and said, you and I both know you missed that call. Or if it's a guy that didn't make the call, you and I both know he missed that call. Next time it's close, you owe us one.
Right.
I think that psychologically puts it in their head,
Yeah.
and I'll continue to think that, but I have nothing to base that on, so now I'm being subjective.
Well, that's sports in general.
It is.
So, well, Coach, thanks very much. This has been
I enjoyed
fun.
it, yeah. I hope this goes like we hope it does.
I hope so, too.
Yeah.
Well, folks, thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, go ahead and find me at the address listed at the bottom of the screen. Talk to you soon. I'm Joshua Carroll. For Coach Kelley, good night.